Hi, my name is Kim Burton, and I'm a Wella Master Color Expert at Ritual Salon in Santa Rosa, California. Today, I'm going to show you how to take all those summer blondes into a more dark blonde that is really suitable for everyone. So let's look forward as the sun goes away and our skin starts to lose a little bit of the tan, how to add some more pigment back into any summer blonde, and that looks good on anybody. If you're new to Wella here, I'd love to tell you a little bit first about their color line. Color theory is absolutely my passion. It's what I teach in the salon every single day. So if you're new, let's take a little close look into what Wella really offers as far as their color line goes. This is their newest color book, and I'd like to start to talk a little bit about the color wheel. As we all know, a color wheel that we look at in a color book is always in a 2D form, but a real color wheel is always 3D. So let's go starting at the center of the color wheel where our neutral lives. And that's really where our achromatic color is. So think of a color wheel 3D in that center almost as a tube. And that achromatic color lives in a tube-like form from white to black. And what that really means is the white at the bottom and the addition of the pigments of the black is just your level of your color, but it really is with absolutely no tone. So a true neutral doesn't have warmth or coolness inside of it. As we start to step out into the inner parts of our color wheel is where we start to see all kinds of different tones. Our browns that Wella loves so much always sit on the more warm side. And as we go out into our color wheel, that's where our true tones within a color really do live, meaning our fashion shades or even sometimes maybe our lighter tones. Even though colors as far as level and depth always can live in different areas. So I like to quickly go through a little bit of Wella's tones, starting with our neutrals, which is our naturals. Always have all three of our primaries in there, and they're used for our gray coverage. They're beautiful tones that can be used standalone at any point with no addition if necessary for truly resistant hair. As we move on, we have our gray ash, which is mostly used to cool, but also to soften, a beautiful retone to direct to any kind of coolness on the color scale. Next, we have our green, which sits right over here. And as we know, our green is always great to cancel out those reds, but I use it mostly to lift from a level 4 and above to cancel out any red as I'm lifting the underlying pigment. As we know, red can be really hard to cancel out. Next, we have our stroke 3, which is our gold. So gold is truly our yellow sitting over here with a little bit of our orange in it, meant to brighten any shade or tone that you need. It's also one of our primaries, as you know. It's also our most delicate primary. So keep that in mind as you're using this tonal value. Next is our red, which as you can see, sits our true red right in between our red and our orange, meaning it is a very, very warm red. If you need to redirect, I always go all the way over here to our blue and that'll cool it down quite a bit for you. But keep in mind it is a beautiful, beautiful warm red. So next we have our stroke 5. And as you can see, as many would think if they weren't as familiar with our color wheel, our stroke 5 actually sits dead center in our red. So definitely more of a true toned red, a little bit cooler than our stroke 4 as we were talking about before. Next is our stroke 6, which is our violet. So violet obviously is always used to cancel out our yellow, used almost every day in the salon. It's a beautiful violet tone. Next on our color wheel is one of my favorites. It's the stroke 7. It's your warm brown. Also has all three of our primaries in it, but can be used for wonderful things like low lighting and filling, which we're going to use today on our model to bring her back down to a little bit more of a dark blonde. It's wonderful because the warmth makes us feel secure in adding that tone into overly porous hair. Stroke 8 is our blue, used to cancel out our orange or add more tone into ash tones that we need. Stroke 9 is our soft cendre, so it's actually a blue violet, never used as a standalone within the Wella's color line, used to cool or reach to redirect. One of my favorite tonal values that it's used in color is the stroke 9/7s. It makes a beautiful beigey warm. So let's go to our model today and I'll show you what I'm doing with her hair as we use all these tones today to show you how they work. So what we're doing with our first step here is we're returning some of the pigment into the hair by using the color touch filling technique. Why this is important to do when you're returning a little bit of pigment or color back to the hair so we can receive that dark blonde color that we're looking for is we're adding some of the underlining pigment back into the hair that we removed during the lightening process. And why this is important is we're trying to get a target color that's a rich, beautiful, natural looking color. So today that we've used Color Touch 903 and 873. As you can see, we're just returning it back to the root color because that's really where I want to see the depth back into this color. We're going to leave some lightness through her ends down here. So we're going to go ahead and use a different method to add some color back into there. Keep in mind too that we're not 100% sure she wants to stay with all this depth in her hair for a long period of time. So that's why Color Touch is always our best choice in this situation. Using something that's a little less of the pigment and also a little bit less of the peroxide. So it'll help us kind of put it all in there as we need to. We are moving on to the second part of our coloring technique. I am looking at our beautiful pre-pigmented root that we used a 903 and 873, just to give her a little bit of pigment in the root as she was especially light up there. I needed to put back in some of that underlining pigment to make sure that our color sits really beautiful and natural on top. Now I'm using a diagonal back technique, pretty chunky highlights up until I get to the top where then I will do more of a baby light. And we're just adding in some tone. We're using 7.71 Color Touch, adding in that beautiful warm brown, which you so need when you're putting any color back in this overly porous hair. I've specifically used Color Touch for that reason. So a little bit smaller molecule than our KP to ensure that I get a beautiful color, shiny and warm. I have taken into consideration for her the Wella skin tone chart, meaning that our mannequin here is pretty warm in tone and also in eye level, which would kind of naturally gravitate me towards using more of a cooler color on her. But since we are going back to natural, we're going to kind of adjust that into using more of a neutral. So we're going to use warm tones on her lowlights, but then we're going to kind of try to use a toner on her that's going to really bring out some of that eye and skin. So just to wrap up today, we took our gorgeous mannequin from a truly platinum blonde and added some tone in many different ways. We did essentially a shadow root, a low light, and a beautiful toner. All of those are going to fade beautifully on our mannequin, so therefore, if our blonde decides that she'd like to go back to blonde, she can absolutely go in that direction with minimal damage to her hair. But she also gets a really nice end result to see what some tone looks like in her hair. And I find that many clients, once they do that, really truly love it. As far as a formulation standpoint, with most of our tones, we were kind of sitting outside of the color wheel over here when we started. And all we did was kind of bring that down into more of a warm neutral zone into this area. I think it's extremely important to know where our tones live, to do color mapping with every formula, so you know with what you're grabbing before on your color wall what your end result will be before it even happens, even in a semi-color correction type situation as this was. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good day.